Good evening and welcome to Groundswell Unplugged, the special edition of the AHDB AgriLeader Circle, live from the event. And tonight, and we'll just explore all of the lessons from the day and from this event. It's been an absolutely fabulous day to meet farmers and meet people, and just such a buzz around the show. So, really, some good days we've had here. We'll talk about all things regenerative agriculture, looking at what people have learned, and all of our panelists here has been on different panels and listened to different panels, so we'll see what they've learned, but also what they've shared. So really so excited to have everybody here. And it's been such a melting pot of some knowledge and knowledge exchange. So let's start with Francesca. We'll find out from the panel who they are, where they're from, and all of those kind of things. Let's start with you.
Hi, yeah, I'm Francesca Cooper. I'm from Numwell Home Farm on Instagram, and I'm farm on the Isle of Wight. I'm a new entrant farmer, so we've only been farming for 2.5 years. So yeah, everything's very new, but it's quite nice to be part of the regen world because it seems like everybody's in the sort of the same boat at the moment. So yeah, we're learning with the rest of us.
Hi, I'm Sophie Gregory. I'm an organic dairy farmer in the Dorset-Devon border, also first generation. I'm on Instagram under Farmer in Training, a bit cringe, but I've not updated that yet. And yeah, we've been farming for about 10 years now. I've been to Groundswell for the last 3. I'm also doing a Nuffield Farming Scholarship on what's the future for organic. So yeah, what regenerative and organic, how they interlink is quite close to what I'm thinking about at the moment. So excited to be involved.
I'm Tom, Farmer Tom on the socials, and we farm just west of Peterborough, a mixed but largely arable farm. We've been kind of heading down the regen route for the last few years, and we're passionate about education, about helping people to see what happens on the other side of the farm gate, and just really excited to learn about all the stuff here. It's just been amazing.
I'm Charlie Ennells. I'm Agricultural Relationships Manager for Wild Farmed, which is a regenerative food and farming brand. My role is to look after our grower community in the east of England. We now have over 100 growers across the UK, following the Wild Farm regenerative standards, and then we buy their grain at a premium price and sell the flour on to lots of artisan bakeries, restaurants, and now into bread products in Waitrose.
Hi, I'm James Herrick at Baldy's Farm on YouTube and Instagram. We are suckler cow farmers from Leicestershire. Simple as that.
Evening all, my name's Flavian, the Kenyan pig farmer, even though I've also got goats, sheep, a dog and an 8-month-old in Hampshire. And I wouldn't call myself a regen farmer, but I like to farm in a way that's as extensive as possible, a bit similar to how I saw farming when I was in Kenya, and which gives me more time to do other things that I have interest in.
Excellent. Thank you very much, everyone. Just to say, wherever you're watching from, and on any of these social channels, please do put in your questions. Tell us where you're from. Let us know what you want to know from the panel. We've got somebody monitoring that, and I'll be checking my phone. So that's what I'm doing. And when I'm checking my phone, and we'll ask those questions to the panel. And the more interactive you get, and the better this session will be. So I'm just going to start it off with the questions and quickly to everyone. What does regen mean to you? What does it actually mean to you on a personal level and on your farm? Flav, let's start with you.
As I said in my intro, I'm not sure yet, but I know that it's not something new. And I know that from looking at how farming was done back home when I had no interest in farming, seeing my nan and other people doing it way back when, there's a lot of principles now that were done before. So I think rather than almost try and invent the wheel, I think people should just try and refine what was already done before.
Yeah, I think Flavian pretty much hit the nail on the head there. It's kind of farming how your granddad farmed before you decided to think you could do it better. And you know, it is a lot of common sense, really. You start and look at what people are telling you, and you're like, actually, that just makes common sense. If we take all the things we think we know out of it and just look at it as plain as day, it is just farming in a simple way, really.
Yeah, totally agree with all of that. And I think for me, it sounds kind of cheesy, but it's all about like hope for the future, and actually having some control on your farm about how the future of your farm looks, and the whole supply chain beyond that as well. So I mean, the feeling at Groundswell today is that everybody is in such a great mood, and there's lots of excitement for the future.
And I think it's easy to be happy on a sunny day like this, but I think the happiness is one of the characteristics of regenerative farmers. I felt a lot happier having kind of gone down this route, and it's really kind of reinvigorated my love of farming, my love of the land. So I'd say I'm regenerating myself as well as regenerating our food system.
Yeah, I love the idea of that, Tom. So for us, probably, we are actually growing for Wild Farmed as well, and that's our first time arable farming, and it's just being able to sell into something that has similar values to us, and that's adding a premium to something that's, you know, let's get real, farming is a hard way of life, you know, it is difficult, but adding an actual value back to our bottom line. For us also, it's a circular system, trying to reduce inputs as much as we can. I don't think it has to be organic. I think it can be, can be using some tools in the box, but I do think that it's creating more of a circular system.
Yeah, I suppose I always get tangled in knots when I'm talking about what does regen mean, and it'd be nice to have like a concise answer, wouldn't it, to customers and whatever. But I think it is about making decisions, like not just for today, but for like future generations, and for future generations of the soil and the planet. And yeah, also like looking at it as a whole as being stewards of the land. So like we work really closely with the Wildlife Trust, so producing like biodiversity and food, and like those two being really like synergistically linked is really important to us as regen farmers.
So how do you reckon, you know, we marry the modern world in technology and all of those things, and implement some of those learnings to make this whole regen, you know, you talked about how your grandfather farmed, he definitely wouldn't have farmed with a smartphone and all the technology. So, but how can we marry those two worlds up? What are some of the things that either you use or that you've seen here today?
I think that that's it. We're kind of recapping on the kind of definition of regen. We're overlaying modern scientific understanding with traditional practice. And a great thing, there was a paper that came out recently that said that there are components of animal herbivore saliva, megafauna, that stimulates grass growth, and yet you get the old saying, which is never let the church bell ring twice on your flock in the field, i.e. move them at least every week. And, you know, and that's what they did, and we're doing the same thing, but with a different level of scientific understanding. So that it's been phenomenal, and to kind of upskill ourselves here at Groundswell to kind of understand what our grandparents are doing, but also to kind of drive us in our practice as well.
Yeah, no, definitely. We're using more testing methods that we probably weren't as part of growing for Wild Farmed. You can probably tell us more about the sap testing. Tom's got really excited about going out. I mean, he never gets that excited about milking at 5 a.m, but he's been going out at 5 a.m. and taking samples of grass that then seems to be sent somewhere abroad, I think, to be tested. But it's way more advanced, and then you can actually use what you need on that plant. So the testing of things, so we can actually directly target what that plant needs, is definitely advancing.
Why are you testing at 5 a.m?
You can tell me that, Charlie.
Just repeat the question.
Sorry. The question was, why are you testing at 5 a.m?
You can't take samples to when there's too much sun in the sky. Basically, I think it's all about keeping the moisture in the leaf, to make sure that the reading is correct at the end of the day. Yeah, so the samples get sent to the Netherlands to a lab called Novacrop. There's a little bit of a faff getting it through customs, but it's fine. It's worth it. And yeah, it's a really useful tool to be able to give the plant exactly what it needs to be a strong, healthy plant, rather than, you know, treating the problems with pesticides and things like that. From a wild farm perspective, actually, one of the sort of best bit of technology that we have is WhatsApp. Our WhatsApp group is always buzzing with advice and questions and just funny little anecdotes, and it really brings the community together. And I think it's just that, I mean, we've seen today that connection and talking to each other is so important, and WhatsApp is really good at facilitating that.
Yeah, and I think what's interesting as well, kind of echoing what Tom was saying, is we're using now modern scientific methods to kind of to say what we were doing right with observational science, because that's really what was done for generations, was just what they saw happening on the landscape and made decisions based upon that. And now we have the science to back it up and to reinforce that as well, which I think helps us make better decisions.
And I think to add on to Tom's point about him feeling happier, I think we always focus on what we're growing, what animals we have, and we forget about the person that's growing that stuff and looking after the animal. If you're doing a job, like I remember I got to a point in agriculture in 2017 where I left and when I worked in an office because I was fed up with it. I was not enjoying what I was doing. I was just getting up and doing a job like a robot. But now, as much as it's tedious having pigs escaping or having to go mare to get the goats back in, I'm enjoying it because I'm doing something different and I'm using animals to do things that I've never done before. So we should never forget about the human being that's doing it, because as an industry, we always talk about mental health, and yet we don't focus on doing things that make our mental health good. So it's a bit baffling sometimes.
Very good point. You'd have thought getting grass out of Holland would be harder than getting grass to Holland. So, it can't have all been easy. So, what were some of the challenges that you've had, that you've faced, and the way you've overcome it? Thompson, I know you've got a great session about the mistakes you've made, so we'll touch on that. But what are some of the challenges that you've had, and how you've overcome it and faced those challenges? So, Sophie, let's start with you, as you've got the mic.
The big mic. I think for us as dairy farmers, it's just very capital intensive to get going. We went share farming, which I think we probably need to talk more about, working together on the land as well. That's, I think some of Regen does encompass that we can, like, you don't have to do it all. You can have different enterprises stacked on the same land. We went share farming, had a business partner.
Just tell people what share farming is very quickly.
Yeah, so share farming, we had a local farmer who had 6 other dairies and he wanted to invest in another dairy. And so we had 20% of the capital, he had 80, and with the aim to buying him out to 50-50. And then we actually bought him out this April, but there is absolutely no way we could have done it without him. We would have got the tenancy without him in the first place, because we were 24 and 25. There's no way, the guy before had gone bankrupt, the landlord would absolutely have had no time for us. I mean, he would have, we were known as the farm workers for a long time. But we just needed that one person. And I think that's the great thing about Groundswell, isn't it? It's those connections we're getting, contacts we're getting here. And like Flavia was saying earlier, we don't actually even need to go to as many talks as we think we do, because it's just the people you bump into, isn't it? The conversations you have. But capital was a real limiting factor for us. And I think that some banks are definitely opening their mind to lending to this kind of agriculture now, I'm hoping.
Just talking about connections, if you're listening or watching on whatever social channel, bring those questions in. That's what's going to make it come alive. So send them in. I'll be checking them here, and we'll ask that from the panel. So, James, challenges?
I don't want to be that guy, but the weather is tough, and and I think the thing is, you're trying to build sort of resilience into your business, and one of the key points about regenerative agriculture in particular is building that resilience, so that when you do get a drought or you do get heavy rains, you do have the things in place to be able to tackle it. And it's never going to be perfect. You're never going to just carry on as you always did before, but at least you've got a contingency plan for when it does hit the fan. Nearly swore, sorry.
Yeah, I suppose challenges from a wild farm perspective. I mean, trying to change an entire supply chain is really difficult. And I mean, the farmers are absolutely amazing. They're really up for it. We've got some brilliant farmers in the gang. And the team back in the office are doing so much to, break down any kind of barriers, from things like, how do you separate a bi-crop, getting the wheat from the beans and making that easy for the farmer, to then actually just having those conversations with the people at Waitrose that decide where they buy their produce from, and making that conversation happen on that bigger stage. And it's really hard. There's still a long way to go. We've only just started, really, but I think with the collective of all the farmers behind us, it's we're making progress.
I was just going to add that obviously a lot of what regenerative farming is about the soil, and we've taken on a farm that's really depleted, and just the challenge of wanting to put in place all of those sort of low input techniques and you know, all the exciting bale grazing and things like that, but working with like a really depleted, I suppose that's why we call it regenerative rather than sustainable, because if we were just to sustain, that's not enough. And I think what we were trying to do, to regenerate our soils, because currently they are very dead and they're very difficult to manage in a low input way. And so I think that's been one of the major challenges for us, like taking on land that has been extractively farmed for a really long time and trying to get it to a point. I mean, we're really lucky, I think, with some of the payments that are coming through now that we can help fund that transition in some ways. But I think we sort of have to look at it like that to try and pour this, keep trying to get our soil alive, like jump starting it. Yeah.
I think to add on to that, the land we've taken on was mainly grazed for horses, so you can imagine it's like farming tarmac. And but we've got ginger ninjas that are pretty good at digging it. But I'd say my challenge, aside from,
can you just explain what ginger ninjas are?
Oh,
just
sorry.
for the audience.
Ginger ninjas.
It's not a new type of livestock.
It's a nickname we gave to our pigs, Tamworth pigs, because they kept escaping a lot. They went a few months without escaping and they've started again. So, but to add on to your point about finance as a challenge, I'd say we've worked. Are you allowed to mention companies that you've worked with that have helped? Yeah. So we've worked with Oxbury Bank, and they only deal with farmers, and they have a scheme or a program that deals with new generation people, so someone that's coming into farming that's not had family backing, and they've been really helpful to us. One of my challenges is time, because I find if you're going to be enterprise stacking or doing more than one thing, in our case sheep, goats, pigs, hog roasting, this kind of stuff, it takes time. And if you're going to be moving sheep every week, sometimes you want to move pigs around, you don't have a tractor to move it, sometimes you end up using a digger. So I think for me, if I had 40 hours in a day, it would be much better.
Tell us about your...
Well, I've got a question for the panel, because I've just been learning so much today. I want to know what you guys have learned. Have you had any new bits of information, any nuggets, anything that we can take home?
Not to do with farming, but I thought being black I'd be immune to this heat, but I'm suffering so bad.
I haven't managed to get across to too many talks today, there's many that I've missed, so I'll have a lot of catching up to do on YouTube afterwards. But just the level of enthusiasm has been brilliant. Our stand has been packed all day. It's been so much fun just chatting to existing growers and new growers. So no real nuggets apart from just like so much good energy.
Yeah, I suppose I was just going to say that I suppose it was mirroring what we said at the beginning, but it's been really exciting seeing how many people are doing like data collection in this world now and sharing that really openly, and that's really exciting. So like seeing people's mistakes and people being really honest about that, and getting some real good open source information has been really amazing.
Yeah, no, I haven't actually managed to make any talk. We only just rocked up. So far I've just seen lots of people I didn't expect to be here. So very, that I wouldn't normally associate with doing this kind of stuff, which I think is great. And lots of new stands, which I think makes it really inclusive, which is what it should be. I think Regenerative's doing a really good job of that, probably more so than organic right now. I think it's really, you could be from any walk of life and be very welcome here. So I think that's probably a big nugget to take home, that, it's a great example to farming.
Sorry, James. Talking of coming from all walks of life, I've got my partner there who's a travel agent. You never thought you'd see a travel agent on a... Nick. You never thought you'd see a travel agent at a farming conference, but yeah, here we are.
Yeah, to be fair, I went to Joel Williams talking about biostimulants, which was fascinating. I didn't understand it, but it was fascinating. I went to a seminar down there where they were doing 8-minute ideas, and they were just... You had 8 minutes to pitch your idea, and that was it. And it was great because it cut through all the rubbish that you would have filled an hour with, and you just got it over to people. And I thought that was great. So yeah, there's a lot of things that are going on today. It's just been really interesting. But like you were saying, trying to get round to everything is hard. I thought I got loads of time, and then I was like, oh, it's 5:30. We need to be here now. So yeah, mad.
Can I share with you my fact that I learned? Okay, there's a bit of it was from John Kemp, one of the first things this
wanna know what
morning.
he looks
Oh my!
like.
What does he look like? He's got
See,
like
actually-
shaved hair and then a massive
He's
beard.
an Amish, isn't he?
In the winter, he just tucks it into his shirt and keeps himself warm. But he was talking about the way that plant roots. That wasn't the fact. Sorry. The fact is even more. And these guys are going to say, "Wow!" when I'm telling this fact. The fact was that plants bring in microbes through their roots, and then they take the nutrients that they have and they kick them out through the root hairs. But as they do that, using chemicals and other things, they basically communicate with those microbes the exact nutrients that the plant needs. And within 4 minutes of kicking them out, the microbes then they communicate, and up to a meter away, there are other microbes starting to mine that nutrient. And that's within 4 minutes. And within 4 hours, that nutrient is starting to arrive in the plant root via microbial activity. Everybody say wow.
Wow. What a guy. What a guy. I suppose really my nugget is I met John Kemp and I was so excited. Yeah.
Was that a bit embarrassing? Did you fangirl?
I did fangirl, yeah, I did. Yeah.
You'd mentioned biostimulants. What does anybody know what that is? Let's explain to the audience what it is. What did they do? Charlie, you look like you.
I can go if you want. So biostimulants are essentially they are natural ingredients that you can use to bolster a crop. So rather than using a fertilizer or a chemical, you can use, like they were talking about silicon and the way that silicon can help a plant through heat stress, cold stress, pretty much any kind of stress whatsoever, and various things like that. So it's things that you can add in. It doesn't have to be just a plant. It can help like the soil as well, but it's more natural things as opposed to chemical interventions.
I think that's what's been in our kitchen for a while. We had a bucket which was filled with some compost thing that had been soaking for quite a long time, and then some milk was added to it, and the dog drank a bit of it, and it all was a bit disgusting. But it then went in a sprayer and went out in the arable crop. So it must be doing some good. I'm not sure what it is, but I leave that side to Tom. But I think that's what you're talking about.
How was the dog?
Was sick. Yeah. We shouldn't tell you that.
I've got a question here from James. Question to Farmer Toms, and you do a lot of work in education and working with children. What do you think is the opportunities for connecting Regen with that kind of work that you do?
Oh, that's a great question. We are passionate about educating people. We're just meeting with them and talking and just sharing what we do, helping them to see what happens on the other side of the farm gate. But I don't think that's something that we do exclusively. I think that's actually all of our jobs as farmers. They're our consumers. They're the workforce of tomorrow. They're the decision makers of tomorrow. But I think actually what we were talking about with Regen earlier is that there's something in us that we have a kind of inherent understanding of how things work, and it's just putting words to that. It's not necessarily using complex chemical formulae. It's just about helping the soil to be healthier, creating healthier plants and healthier people. So it's actually something which is, whilst you can go into one of those tents out there and talk to somebody for an hour about mycorrhizal fungal associations, it's also quite something that's quite simple to understand, and that's been really exciting going around today. And the really good communicators, I think, help us to understand really complicated things, but in a simple way.
I'm going to fangirl you now, Tom, because we actually started doing school visits about 2 years ago, inspired by you and your farmer time. And I would just want to know what your best question on farm has been from a kid, because we've had some great ones.
I actually spoke at the Yorkshire Show once, and I had to use the term running with the bull. So I actually let the children ask the parents that question. I said, go home and ask your parents what that might mean, running with the bull. But we do get all kinds of questions. But do you know what, actually? The thing which I find fascinating, a lot of our farmers who are part of Farmer Time, farmertime.com, find is that we're spending a lot of time talking to our teachers who are not supposed to be experts in everything, but just helping them to understand the massive potential to illustrate classroom learning on the farm. And that we can all, we're all scientists here. We're all out there researching, creating hypotheses, putting them into practice, trying to control 100 variables, recording data, analysing it, and then letting the cows run with the bull again. See what happens next time.
We get a lot of doesn't milk come from Tesco's. That's our best ones, and they're obsessed with the cow poo. That's their favourite part of the trip. But yeah, I do think this next government, sorry, we're going to take it into a government level. Do you think we're going to get food farming and the environment on the national curriculum? Because that is something that, you know, from a teacher point of view, you know, we have to educate the teachers as well. But surely it's as important as science. You know, it can be integrated across the curriculum.
You're bang on there with that. It's about saturating the curriculum with it. I don't want an agriculture topic where they think, oh, you're not very good at maths, go and do that. You know, you go over and a separate group will do that. You know, what we're doing is, I mean, on farm we use a lot of maths, we use a lot of science. You know, we actually communicating a lot. We're using a lot of technology, and we really need. You guys know, we need the brightest and best for the next generation. We are. Here I go. I'm going on my soapbox now.
Yeah.
we are the answer to nearly all the questions that society is asking. And we need the best people to. We need the best people to be.
Just
part of
repeat that, because that's such a great.
We are
statement.
the answer to nearly all the questions that society is asking. Yeah. Climate change, water, air, soil, biodiversity, human health, mental health, physical health. Yeah, exactly. There are just so many elements.
And just to give AHDB a plug there, we've got some amazing resources for teachers and for children. So, you know, make sure you go and check that out. If you're a teacher watching this, or if you're a parent watching this, get those resources into your school. So use it. Flavian, I've got a question here about for you about pigs, about the ginger ninjas. What and you've said you're not a regen farmer, but what sort of regen principles can you see implementing in there, or what have you already done that you kind of see working for the soil?
Regen principles. Don't test me on that, because I definitely don't know. I would say when we first moved to the farm, I sort of had a picture in my mind, because I'm coming from commercial farms to just a blank canvas. I had an image in my head of what I'm going to do with the fields, and so the main field we had, I split it into 6 paddocks that already existed for horses, and we left the first 2 paddocks. The pigs are on there probably for 3 months, because it was last summer, so it's quite hard ground. Like, you couldn't put a stake in, even with a sledgehammer. It would bend the stake. It was that hard. And as winter came, you could see the pigs could get a little bit deeper. And I remember having a farm business consultant coming over, sent by the council, to tell us that we need to subsoil. And I said, what's subsoiling? And he said, you sort of get a bit of equipment and dig 18 centimeters into the ground. I'm like, watch this animal do that while it's just making pork. So the first 2 paddocks we used, we didn't replant it with anything. And then the 3rd paddock, we left them there for probably about a month, because it was midwinter, so they went through it quite quickly. We replanted wheat, barley, and beans, but I made a mistake of leaving them there too long. So whatever shoots came up got gobbled up. So I've not really seen much come up there. Then the 4th paddock, we put some turnips, and I've seen some have come up, and I'm hoping the pigeons haven't eaten all of them, because I've been seeing them there. And we've recently bought some pig mix from Cotswold Seeds, and we're starting to chuck that around. And I think I've definitely seen a difference in where we replanted and where we didn't replant. You can see the stress the land had from the horses. We barely got any grass, because we got so many weeds coming up. So now I'm hoping when we put the pigs back on there, they'll trash it, and then I'll reseed it, and I'll see what comes up.
Sorry. We've also got pigs as well, so we need to compare notes at some point on our escaping and how on earth you keep them in. Electric fence training pigs is the bane of my life.
Or taken to the abattoir.
Yeah, no, exactly. The ringleaders.
That
Yeah,
helps.
no, we I was just going to say, similarly to you, we actually use our pigs on rewilding land as well. So they're causing all that beneficial disturbance as well. So yeah, rather they were going to go through with disking it and stuff, and they were like, oh, actually, could you just run the pigs over it? And so they've gone and turfed up a load of weed seeds, I suppose, essentially on there. But yeah, it's amazing what pigs can do. They are machines.
So you mentioned rewilding there. It's a bit of a hot topic at the moment. Tell us a bit, and what is the situation? What have you done? What's happening? And just to remind people, you're from the Isle of Wight. So
yeah, I'm from the Isle of Wight. We don't manage the rewilding project, but we're on a 1,000-acre estate, and a third of it is managed by the Hampshire and Isle of Wight Wildlife Trust in a rewilding project. We are grazing it with our belted Galloway cattle and pigs. So we like to sort of explain to people that we're also producing food on a rewilding site, and actually there will be quite a lot of benefit to us because of all the browse and things for our cattle. I mean, it's controversial. I think that regenerative agriculture can produce a lot of the same benefits, and I'm really excited to have the opportunity, because we manage the regenerative farming on the other side, to compare like for like the benefits of the two different sides of it and to learn from each other. I think it doesn't need to be so controversial. I think it would be nice to be able to just sit down and talk to people about it. We have a really nice working relationship with the Wildlife Trust. Yeah, I think that it would be nice if we could just all sit around and have a beer about it rather than getting a bit partisan, I suppose.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think there's a lot of chat of, is it land sharing or land sparing? But like, surely it's both. Like, it's all about the right thing in the right place. There's loads of opportunity for like amazing rewilding projects, and we definitely should be encouraging more of that. And then we need to have more of a holistic approach to link up these areas of habitat creation, and then have some regenerative farming in between, so that you're actually extending those habitats and making the whole landscape like available to wildlife.
Sorry. So someone once explained rewilding to me as like it's like an incubator for then that wildlife can go in and out of the incubator, because obviously when we're doing things on the regenerative farming, we're putting food production at the front of that. They're putting conservation at the front, so that having a space that is just, in inverted commas, for wildlife and biodiversity just creates incubator sites. And we've become, we are the most nature depleted country in the world, or one of the most, and so we do have to address it in all ways.
I think one of the reasons in farming, whenever these buzzwords come up, people get triggered and repelled very quickly sometimes, is because I guess in the industry we can be so blinkered sometimes in the busyness of like now everyone's haymaking or doing all sorts of stuff, that you don't think outside the box, or you're only focusing on paying your next bill or making sure the farm is stable because you're not getting paid properly when you're supplying such and such. So I think if we were to have a system, and this is probably going back to your mention of government, which I wouldn't hold my breath in anything changing, but if we were to get paid properly and having viable businesses, people would have that space, that mental space to be like, oh, okay, actually, that corner of the field that I don't use, let's put some wildflowers on there. Rather than trying to keep a business afloat as well as feed the local foxes and deer and all sorts. So, yeah, I think rather than try and fix a broken system by diverting into regenerative and rewilding, let's fix that broken system first, as well as carry on with this other stuff.
Yeah, no, I think you make a really good point, Flavin. And me and my husband were having this conversation, as in we want to do more on farm, but we can't actually justify doing some of these trials because you actually have to keep this farm afloat. You know, it's a big farm. We've had an awful organic milk price for the last 18 months, you know, below cost of production. Actually, the first thing we should be doing is making sure that the business is actually financially sustainable. It's coming back now, and I think the ones that are left, a lot of people have gone out of our sector. The ones that have left will reap the rewards of waiting, but that shouldn't be the case. We should be rewarded for what actually, like we say, is a public good, but it is, we are actually benefiting, like you said, all those things.
And I think farming regeneratively isn't just trying to grow more of a particular crop, it's about managing that land in the best way. And, you know, Flav, we're going back to our grandparents, you know, when my grandparents were farming, 20% of the land was set over for hay for horses, and that was their renewable energy production back then. So actually, it's just about looking at our land, trying to manage it as best we can to improve the soil, improve human health as well. But we have a whole range of things that we can do as tools for that, whether it's renewable energy, whether it's, you know, a bit of rewilding, bit of SFI, you know, whatever that might be. That's really, I think, the skill of regenerative farming, which I'm learning. Slowly.
Anyone else on that? I've got a question here from Stephen saying, you know, looking back at consumers and the customers, what do you think are their expectations or understanding of certain regenerative? Maybe that's a question for Wild Farm, because you guys are very much forefront of that.
Yeah, I mean, God, it's a big question. There's so much that the general public don't know about farming, and any opportunity that we can get to speak to consumers direct is so important. And it is a bit like, how do you even, where do you even start? And that's where like the school visits and things are very important. And yeah, I mean the way that Wild Farmed has branded itself it is all around being kind of as approachable as possible and get as much reach on social media, just to get the word out there and to really share the stories of our growers and other people in the industry that are doing amazing things, and to be able to like go into a Waitrose store and buy a loaf of bread made out of regeneratively farmed wheat is just so empowering for all of the farmers. And everyone that I know is going into Waitrose and buying those loaves, and so like and obviously and Waitrose is something like 6% of the market share of supermarkets, so we need to make sure we're not stopping there and keep the conversation going with more affordable supermarkets and make sure that we can get the word out across the board.
Yeah, as Charlie was saying, like it's 6% for Waitrose, so there's obviously a huge amount of room there for scale. But farming it's never been as accessible as what it is now, with the likes of YouTube, social media, Clarkson's Farm, things that are on the TV, but also people have never been so detached from it. So it's difficult to get someone to change their habit when they don't even know they've got a habit that needs changing. And that's the problem we've got to try and do. And you keep chipping away at the edges, but a lot of the time you can get lost in an echo chamber. So it's hard to try and sort of bridge that gap and break the wall to try and reach someone. And I think that's one of those things, like Tom says, with his program with educating in schools, you are reaching people that otherwise perhaps wouldn't ever be reached.
And that's why, and I can recommend all the social channels for all these guys. That's why it's so important that they and all of us help people to just get to know a farmer, just to get to know them. I mean, that's just where it comes from. It's very it's very hard to learn everything. We're never going to do that. But actually, if you just start by just reaching across the aisle, just getting to know. And for us, it's really important. For a long time, we've been insulated by the supermarkets from our customers. It's just really important we just get to know people, get the gate open. However, you guys are all doing a great job of it, and we just need to do more of that.
Yeah, I agree, definitely. And I'm always challenged by friends. Why do you share stuff online? But when I stop, people actually just want to know what the cows are doing. They actually do, and you show them in a real life form. And I know I follow yours because we don't have pigs and things, and I actually just really enjoy watching what others are doing, and it's such a powerful tool, and we can't forget that actually the next generation, that's exactly what they're accessing their news, everything on, isn't it? Across streams. I mean, I'm not on TikTok because I don't I don't know how to use it, but I know that that's where they're getting all their information.
And I think I find it interesting on the consumer thing, because we sell direct and also have a catering business. And when you sort of doing a quote for someone for hog roast, you tell them it's free range, it's slow grown, it's a traditional breed, it's soy free. People are just looking at you like, just tell me the price. And when you get to the point of eating it, people say, I've never tried pork like this before. And I'm like, that's what I was telling you. So do we have to use different words? Because if you go to a consumer that just goes to the supermarket to pick whatever's cheap, you'd say regenerative, they'll look at you and think, oh, I'm going to use that word in the next trouble game I play. So do we have to find other ways of engaging with the public and just trying to chip? Because as James says, it's not easy, and we can't rely on other organizations to do it. We just got to all chip away as an industry to do it, because no one else will do it for us, or they can't do it as good as us.
So is that what regenerative is about? It's about the environment, it's about taste, it's about health.
Yeah.
Is that really what it boils down to?
Pretty much.
Yeah,
I'd say.
And just to give our we've got another session going on at the moment, AHDB in the main tent, talking exactly about that and health and the influence of what we eat into our bodies. Just for anybody that's joined us at the moment, let's remind people quickly of who you are and following those socials, and then I'm going to come to you, Tom, to just tell us a bit more about Farmer Time. Starts and just remind us of what your socials are if anybody just joined us.
Flavian Obiero, the Kenyan pig farmer, everywhere.
James Herrick, Baldy's Farm.
I'm Charlie Ennals, Agricultural Relationships Manager for Wild Farmed.
Sophie Gregory, and farmer in training on Instagram, probably most.
Yeah, I'm Francesca Cooper, and we are Numwell Home Farm on Instagram and Facebook.
And I'm Tom, Farmer Tom on socials. But I think regarding Farmer Time, thank you for the question. I think Soph kind of described it really well. But the nuts and bolts are we connect farmers, UK farmers, with UK teachers. They have a series of video calls every 2 or 3 weeks throughout the year, live from the farm to the classroom. The teacher will describe ahead of the call what they're learning. Is it weather, climate change, soil, worms, pollinators, nutrition, health, textiles, poo, reproduction, whatever. And the farmer will put themselves somewhere on the farm, video call. Hi guys, Farmer Tom. Today I'm next to my muck heap looking at soil nutrition, and the kids just go with questions. They don't know they're learning. It's great for farmers because we get to just talk to our future workforce and customer, and I think it's great for our mental health as well. I know a lot of farmers who just say how much they really enjoy it, whilst making a big difference to the next generation. Thanks for the question.
Excellent, excellent. Francesca, do you think St Isle of Wight has got some unique challenges?
Yeah, unfortunately we have a bit of water, which is one of the most expensive bits of water in the whole world by mile, I think. Yeah, we spent an extortionate amount of money getting here because it was the Isle of Wight Festival last weekend. So yeah, we have to have a co-op called the Grain Group. So all of the arable farmers have to use that in order to collate all of their crops to then be able to sell to the mainland, which makes it really difficult to say access things like the premiums so Wild Farmed are offering or something like that. We don't have an abattoir on the island at the moment, so we are currently trying to bash at the doors of Parliament to try and get a little bit of funding it's not a problem that is unique to the island. It's actually a problem across the whole UK. But it does make a difference for us that we have to take our haulage lorry over on the ferry. And it is just a frustration that part of our supply chain is so delicate. We sell as well directly to consumer, so everything has to go off the island to come back on. And that's really frustrating and quite sad.
Can I ask a question? So a lot of the things we've seen here at Groundswell are about shortening supply chains and having more local food production. Is there anything you've seen that's kind of really excited you about that you might be able to start applying on the Isle? Sorry.
I don't know. I mean, well, our local NFU representative was here talking about small abattoirs, so we're really hoping that there could be a trial project or something like that on the island. I think just generally the enthusiasm around trying to shorten supply chains, I don't think it's for everybody. I mean, I do think that there is definitely a place for, commodity markets are really important, and getting all of these products out through supermarkets is as important. But I think that there is also that, it'd be amazing to have a vibrant local food scene because of that connection. Like when Flav goes with his hog roast and that's his pig, and, when we do the same, and being able to connect people directly with their food, I think there's a place for that as well. But I think that there is excitement around both of it. And I think from a consumer perspective, there's a lot of excitement about knowing where your food, piece of food is from. Whether it's every meal or not, it doesn't matter, but it's just knowing that that's possible is really important. But yeah, just general enthusiasm, I suppose.
Yeah, I think it's great. I'm always really jealous, Francesca, of you guys selling direct, because we're producing so much of a short-dated product like milk. So 2 million litres of milk is a lot of milk to get rid of in a short, it's a lot of milkshakes, isn't it? It's just really difficult, and I'm always very envious of that, and it makes me think, maybe we should do some cheese, or we should do but you're right, we do need commodity, we need wild farm, but we need direct. I think the thing about direct is you do tell your story very well to the consumer, and that does influence the rest of the industry as well. If you're just telling the story of pig, everyone is doing their bit, it is so important. I don't know, have you got a question?
Well, I want to buy your milk because one of the things we've been learning here is about how actually milk's a great product to put on your grass and cropping. 10 litres a hectare, and it's obviously full of microbes, but also readily available nutrition, which is great for, that's what's there for the calf, but it's also great for our soils as well. So
can you send me that, Tom?
Can you send me an IBC?
I'm worried about Tom removing that all from our tank and nothing left to sell. The arable going up the scale. It'd be good for Wild Farm, maybe not for our milk check. But it's interesting. People are using milk for other things, and it is so nutritionally dense. We still have, I think that vegan thing slightly going. I don't know if others feel the same. It's definitely changed over the last year. For us, definitely as a dairy industry, because we've had more confidence to say what we are offering and AHDB have supported us with that. We've done some really good adverts, and that's been really impactful. And we need bodies like levy bodies like you guys to be able to tell our story with the statistics, because we can't do we can't do that alone.
I think one thing that always winds me up as a farmer is how livestock farmers get so wound up about veganism or other food choices. It's like I grew up in a country or in a town where you had Muslims, you had Hindus, people have halal, some people don't eat fish, some people don't eat beef. Like, who cares? Like, if I'm producing ginger ninjas, goats, sheep, and I can grow some African veg that people can have, all those, was it rape seed leaves?
Rape leaf,
rape leaf. Yeah. If you can grow something that people can buy, what's the issue? If someone wants to eat quinoa and avocado, let them eat it.
Yeah.
Like, we spend so much energy as an industry trying to counter that, and when you look at the size of it in the population, it's so small, and what someone else is doing against you, you doing something against them back, doesn't really help. You're just wasting your energy, and we don't really have that much to spare, really, as an industry.
I was just going to say about veganism that actually we have a lot of people that come to us and they're like, we're vegan, but we eat your meat. And it's just interesting because essentially what they're saying is they want to make a conscious choice about the welfare and the planetary health of that. And I think that Regen is trying to answer all the same questions that veganism is trying to answer. If we can explain that and tell the story and keep telling people about what we're doing and giving traceability for our products, then actually we're solving the same problem.
And everyone needs to eat the same amount of calories in a day.
Yeah.
And we're farmers and we grow calories.
Yeah.
There we go.
I think we've got a question from the audience here.
I'll come closer. That's easier, isn't it? I don't want to get on the panel. I got to help you. But yeah, you mentioned about milk and consumers, flavour, taste, health. Do people know where the food's coming from? What's the connection? Why on earth do supermarkets homogenise milk? I'm going no further. It tastes awful. It's got no mouthfeel. It's not as healthy for you. Why homogenise milk?
I think we need you on the marketing board for our cooperative. So they actually did try. So we supply Arla, who actually have the rights to sell milk under Your Valley. And we did actually try non-homogenised, and people were ringing up saying that it had already gone off. There was a lack of understanding around it, and there was so much wastage that it tastes better. I mean, honestly, it is an absolutely different product. It I can go way down there. Exactly, but because it's something different. And whether we didn't do a good enough job at marketing that, but it was a change, and people don't like change. Yeah. I think definitely in this country there's a real thing around change. So it is something, I think direct we can tell that story better, but on a large scale they really struggled, and they actually even pulled that brand because it just didn't work. It was which is really disappointing because it is so nutritious as well.
Yeah, as Sophie says as well, like it's something that's become ingrained. So it's all right saying like, yeah, they shouldn't do it, and I mean I'm not a dairy farmer, so I don't know that much about milk. It's okay saying that, but if that's what people are used to, it's like you having water from the tap and it's now dirty and going, well, that's the new water. And that's what they feel like it is for them. And it's just trying to change that mindset, but it's difficult because it's so ingrained within them.
So another thing, I think when we look at supermarkets and as farmers, especially selling direct, the amount of money that's gone into marketing over the last 30, 40 years, why the hell do we think we're just going to change that in 5 years with hashtag this, hashtag that? There's no way we're going to do that. So we need to just, the engagement, keep that in, and like, for myself, like you say about with the taste of milk or whatever, I work as an apprentice butcher as well. The number of times people come in and say, I want pork, but I want lean pork. And then the next time someone will come, the same person will say, oh, that pork is a bit dry. Guess why? Because it doesn't have any fat in it. So you look at Japan, the fattiest beef you can see with intramuscular fat gets sold for stupid amount of money, whereas here we're breeding genetics with animals, pigs that look like chickens because they got such little fat. So it doesn't make sense. So again, back to farmers, let's do the job ourselves. Let's not rely on people to do it for us.
I'm going to disagree with you, Flav. I think we can do it in 5 years because I think we've got what supermarkets really want, which is this amazing marketing tool of the British countryside. And I know Arla can't change milk supply from the top down, but I think, with what the work Sophie's doing and making customers realise that what they can get and that they really want it and it's really got value, that's what will change things. I'm kind of agreeing and disagreeing. We're still friends.
But you don't think as well, like you're talking about Wagyu beef. I mean, Wagyu beef is like so in. It's such a trend that people love it. So if you could create a trend around any food product and all of a sudden it's big, that's why everyone's like milking their almonds. It's the same thing, isn't it? Because everyone wants a soy milk latte for whatever reason. Most people don't even know what that means, but they just like because someone had it on Instagram and they think it's a good idea. So you just create a trend and all of a sudden you've got the traction you need to make it,
Well, our big consumer campaign at the moment is around B12, and we asked the question: do people actually know what B12 is and what it does? And it doesn't really matter. It's people got this association with it's good. It's like some omegas from fish. You just once that message has landed, and you just keep on pushing that message. It's good for you, and this is what you need. So I think it's concentrating on that. Charlie, a question for you. So Wild Farm is very much about grains and cereals and stuff like that. Regen is very much about integrated and livestock and stuff. So how does it work with the farmers that you work for you and at the home farm?
Yeah, so we have a kind of a different approach depending on what the grower wants to do. So we work with farmers on a long-term basis, and we have an annual agreement about how much wheat or barley or hopefully soon oats they're going to buy growing for us, and at what price for that year. So we're spending a lot of time trying to get to a point where we can offer all of our growers a full rotation, so they can have a full wild farm rotation. So at the moment, we're most of our produce is wheat. We've got a really strong route to market for wheat, and we're growing again for next year. So any farmers interested in finding out more about growing wheat for wild farm, then do come and speak to me or contact the team afterwards. And then we have some growers already growing some barley for malting for us. And yeah, as I say, we're just about to launch some oat contracts for next harvest, which is going to be a real game changer. And then we've got a lot of growers that are also using SFI and countryside stewardship agreements to help with their rotation as well.
Excellent.
Will Wild Farm Ed ever do Wild Farm Ed? No, Wild Farm. I don't want to talk about. Will Wild Farm ever sort of have people producing livestock for them? And do ginger ninjas that run around about as well?
So at the moment, one of our growing standards is livestock integration. So all of our growers integrate livestock in their rotation at some point within 3 years. So that could be overwinter grazing the cereal, it could be grazing a cover crop, it could be herbal lays, and it can be ginger ninjas, or it can be sheep, or it can be cattle, whatever you have available. It doesn't have to be owned by the farmer. It can be a flying flock or whatever. We don't have any plans currently to market any produce, beef or otherwise at the moment, because it's really complicated just working in the cereal space. But really keen to work with other people and partner with other organisations that are doing a similar thing in the livestock industry.
Ever the opportunist, Flavs. But I think there's a good business model and we can learn. The rest of the industry can learn a lot from you guys. I've just sort of realised that 66% of our audience, of our panel, are new entrants, and so we've got this narrative about it's hard to get into the industry, all the barriers, and there are, but actually, you guys are living proof that that isn't the case.
Yeah, and actually, as one of the oldies, we actually want to get more people on the farm. We're really looking for people who've got the energy, the enthusiasm, bit of knowledge, probably a little bit of backing to come onto the farm to get some more businesses. And I think that's part of the regenerative approach, is to get more from our countryside without taking more from it, if you know what I mean, to get more businesses in there.
Yeah, definitely. And I think we have quite I wouldn't say high turnover of staff, but we use the farm really to bring others through. So actually we see it as, if someone's come through the business and gone on to a bigger farm, we actually see that as big success. So I think that's actually part of, it's that community element. A lot of them are locals that actually aren't from family farms, or are from family farms but there isn't a spot for them, or they just want to learn dairy. They're actually pig farmers. They come for some of them come for 2 years and then gone on to bigger farms. But we actually see that as big success, and part of our farming, that we're educating them. It does take some patience sometimes. I mean, it does take a lot of patience, but I see that as a role of ours. That might not be a role for an older generation farmer, but it's a role that we can offer. And I think it's all, tying to your strengths.
I think that's such a great philosophy of, seeing when people move on to something bigger and better as a success, and we need to get past that thing of, and keeping people and
Yeah, I mean, we quite often get asked, like, how did you get a farm? We I suppose we didn't really know, but then actually in looking back at it, what we essentially did was to look at it a bit like Dragon's Den, like to think of yourself as a business and to pitch that to landowners. And as soon as I sort of that clicked, I was like, oh yeah, I'm just like an entrepreneur like anyone else. And all we did was to pitch, and our landowner had a problem and we were solving that problem. He wanted to find a farmer that would fit with his estate ethos, and we pitched something that fitted with that. And I think that the more we sort of look at ourselves as farmers and entrepreneurs, and to look at ourselves as business people, and then to use those tricks and marketing techniques, I think so whenever anybody now asks me about like how would you go about getting a farm, I mean, what we did is we wrote a business plan, and we pitched it to a landowner. And I think that actually you almost have to have that business plan in your back pocket at the moment, and also just to put it out there. There are so many landowners looking for exciting young people, not necessarily in farming backgrounds. Obviously you have to have complementary skills. I was a land agent and could write a business plan, but other people might have amazing skills in one thing, and then to like build a team. We had a group of us that came together and did it, and I farmed with a childhood friend and our husbands, and I think that just think of yourself as an entrepreneur and look at it like that, and I think it's quite exciting.
What a way to end. So I'm just going to go around and everybody give their final thoughts on something they've learned here, takeaway message, or the message you want to put out there to the audience about regenerative agriculture. So one message from each of you.
I mean, I'd just like Tom to repeat his pillars. I think they were so good, Tom. Go on.
Which pillars?
The pillars, the
things that
health.
we're going to fix.
Yeah, everything.
What were the answer to?
Yeah, the answer to everything.
We are the answer to everything. Climate change, soil, air, water quality, biodiversity, human health, mental health, and I know I've forgotten a few others.
Definitely. Yeah, no, that was definitely my summary of the whole thing, that how impactful we can actually be.
And I think with that feeling, we should be bold. And my thing is just to be bold, bowl up and be confident. Ask people. It was great to hear your story. People want to hear from you. Ask a stupid question.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. And I suppose for me, it's just get involved. I didn't come from a farming background, and but now I love it, and I'm just pretty nerdy with regen farming, and it's quite sad, but just get involved, ask the questions, and even if you think maybe farming isn't the right thing for you, then maybe there's like other jobs within the industry that is the right thing. So ask questions.
Yeah, I think I would just Flav mentioned mental health earlier, and I suppose the huge benefit of coming to things like this is realizing that we're not alone, and also I'm part of the AHDB Roots to Resilience, bit of a shout out there for them, but it's such an incredible thing to be able to be like vulnerable with other people, and I feel like there's such an honesty in this space now, and about everything, just being able to say, when someone asks you okay, and you're like, actually no, because the weather's crap, and but I think that just being open and honest and feeling like we're in a safe space.
Farming is exciting. I'm going to keep it short. Live like you're going to die tomorrow. Farm like you're going to live forever.
How do you follow that? I'd say carry on learning, and also carry on knowledge exchanging, because like Sophie said earlier, this is my second year at Groundswell. I don't go to many talks, but I learned so much from talking to people, and I tend to talk to a lot of people because I like talking. So, I think for me, keep learning and knowledge exchange, and there's never a stupid question.
Yeah.
And I just want to kind of round up by saying thank you to AHDB. I mean, Isaac works for AHDB. I do not. In fact, I give money to AHDB. But they do so many amazing things. And I think if you, if you're not sure, just kind of find out. There are so many different things they do. There's so many ways to kind of gain extra knowledge, to learn from people who've kind of gone before. And so I would just say, when we're talking about asking questions and getting involved, AHDB is a great example of that. I can say that. Whereas Isaac, it's a bit harder to, because he pays their salary.
I'm going to blush here, Tom.
Go on, say it anyway.
Yeah, no, thank you very much for that, and it's great to hear how you guys are involved with Roots to Resilience. If you're watching, and all of our socials and stuff are on there, so scan that and do all of that. from me, a massive, massive thank you to all of you and for joining, giving up your evening. For people online and listening in, and thank you very much. Like Tom said, and do please go and have a look at all the resources we've got there. So I'm Isaac, AgriLeader on socials. AgriLeader is the program that we got involved with, but look at all of the AHDB resources. Thank you very much, guys. It's been an absolute pleasure. And I might see you in the earthworm arms, I would imagine. Thank you very much.